Ooh, this woman is going to take the CELPIP exam, and she's studying for task 1 of the speaking test, which is giving advice. And she's using my book to practice. Wow, I'm so excited about that. I want to say thank you so much to everyone who's bought my book and using my book to help them practice and prepare for the CELPIP test. It's a real honor that I can help you in this way. You know, I know how frustrating and how much of a struggle this can be to pass the CELPIP test. It's not an easy exam. It's hard, and a lot of people have told me, you know, I failed like 3 or 4 times. I'm trying so hard to pass this test. I know. I just want to acknowledge how hard it is and how frustrating it can be. But hey, keep going. You can do it. So I wrote this book to really help you, and I just want to say thank you for buying my book and helping me, supporting my work, you know, subscribing to my YouTube channel, liking my videos, commenting, encouraging me. I really appreciate that. So thank you so much for helping me. Hey, if you want to get a copy of my book, you can just visit my website, metv.cool, and then you can download a PDF format of my book. It's just in PDF format. Now, the reason I did that made it in PDF format was just so that you could have it on your computer, or you could have it on your phone. Like here I have it on my phone. Anywhere you go, you can just be looking at this and learning English. For example, if you're using the bathroom, you can just be reading my book. That's a good tip for task 3 on the test. Okay, so it's really easy to get this book. And sometimes people, they email me and they say, Mark, I've booked my CELPIP test for next weekend. How should I study for it? Okay, you're only giving yourself 1 week to study for the CELPIP exam? That's not enough time. You need more time. But I get a lot of questions like this. So because of that, I thought it's better if it's in PDF format, because then people can download it instantly. Okay, if it's like a hard copy that I would sell on Amazon or something like that, you know, the shipping time will take like 4 or 5 days. So a lot of people, they don't have 4 or 5 days to wait. They need something instantly. Okay, so if you want this book right now, you can go to my website and get it. But hey, in this lesson today, we're going to look at task 1, giving advice. And so in this question, you have 30 seconds to prepare and 90 seconds to speak. What's your strategy going to be when you answer this question? Well, let's take a look at one of the questions from my book. Okay, your brother recently got his driver's license and wants to buy his first car. Give him some advice on how to buy a car. What would you say in your answer for this question? What would you talk about? Well, I made a lesson a few months ago on how to answer task 1 on the CELPIP, and we looked at this example in that video. Okay, your friend is looking for a summer job. Advise him about different ways he can find work for the summer. Okay, now, after I made that video, a bunch of people commented on the video, and then they said, wait, you didn't answer it right. You made a mistake. You didn't answer it properly. You're not answering what the question is asking. And so, I mean, okay, let's take a look. What did I say? So I answered this question by saying, you know, by talking about an outdoor job. Maybe my friend could get an outdoor job, or a pizza delivery job, or maybe, you know, a nighttime job. Okay, so I gave these answers in my advice to my friend. And people say, well, that's not answering the question. Well, okay, let's take a look at what the question says. It says, advise him about different ways he can find work for the summer. Different ways. So the question is asking ways to find a job, right? And my answer talked about the different kinds of jobs that my friend could get. So you're right. There is a bit of a difference there, right? This way, this is talking about the ways, and here I'm talking about the jobs. So yes, you are right, but let's look at, how would you answer this? Ways to find a job. What are the different ways a person could find a job? Well, we could say you could look online, you could visit a job fair, you could apply in person. Okay, a job fair is something that usually universities or colleges hold to help their students get a job, basically. They bring employers and students together in a job fair. Okay, that's that could be a good option. Or looking online could be a good option. Okay, these are all different ways a person could find a job. So this is actually great. Okay, this is a really good way to answer the question. The problem is that you only have 30 seconds to prepare for this answer. Okay, what are you going to say? It's going to take you at least 10 or 15 seconds to read the question. So you won't even have any time to take notes. Okay, so your answer will not be perfect. That's the first thing I want to say. Your answer won't be perfect. Don't try to get perfect answers. And after you finish answering a question, just forget about it. Don't worry about, maybe that you didn't understand the question or you answered it wrong. It's probably okay. So just forget about it and move on to the next one. Okay, here's the other thing. Don't overthink the question. Okay, a lot of people, they overthink the question. Like my example about finding the job, I think that's overthinking the question. Look, if you asked me in real life, could you advise me on different ways to find work this summer? I would think, sure. Summertime, the weather's really nice. You might want to work outside. Have you considered, looking for a construction job or, maybe a painting job or a landscaping job or something? Oh, what about maybe a pizza delivery job? Here in Canada in the summertime, the evenings are really long and they're nice and warm. So it's really nice to be driving at night here or in the evening here in the summertime delivering pizza. You could make some great tips. What about working a nighttime job? Sometimes it's fun to work it. Okay, look, so you can see how I'm answering that question naturally. If you ask me on the different ways to find work, that's how I would naturally answer the question. So look, it's important to be natural. Just try to use natural English. That's more important than being really technical with your answers. So with a lot of these questions, there's flexibility. You can answer them however you want. Okay, so look at this question. Your brother recently got his driver's license and wants to buy his first car. Give him some advice on how to buy a car. Is there one right answer for this question? No, you could talk about anything. There could be so many possible answers for this question. Okay, let's take a look at my tips for this. Okay, so remember, when you give advice to your brother, you're not telling him what he should do. You're just giving him suggestions. After listening to your advice, he will make his own decision. Okay, that's really important. You're not telling him, you should do this, you should do that. You're just giving him some friendly advice and he's going to make his own decision. Okay, in this question, how to buy a car is referring to the general process of getting a car. What should your brother do first? Just tell him what he should do first. Some people take these kinds of questions too literally. They might focus on the word how and think, pay money, sign papers, get the license plate. They might think about how do I buy a car? Well, okay, look, you could answer that this way. Okay, like I said, if you give an answer like that, it's probably okay. But really, this question is not that technical. Don't overthink it. Just give him some practical advice on where he should start looking for a car. And then maybe tell him some other aspects of the process if you have time. Okay, so there's just a lot of ways you could answer this, okay? So let's take a look at some words that I will use in my answer. Okay, the first one is budget. A budget is the amount of money you want to spend on something. That's a great word to use in this situation. For example, if you ask me, Mark, what kind of computer should I buy? My first question would be, what's your budget? What's your budget? How much money do you want to spend? $100? $5,000? What's your budget? That's the most important thing, right? Secondhand, that means not new. So if you're buying a car, a used car, the car is secondhand. Okay, Kijiji. Kijiji is a popular Canadian website for buying secondhand things. I've bought a lot of things on Kijiji. Okay, Craigslist. That's another website that's very similar to Kijiji. Dealership. Dealership is a place that sells cars. Okay, it's a building, it's a business that sells cars. Okay, lemon. A lemon is a car with serious problems. So you don't want to buy a lemon. Okay, if you buy a lemon, that means something major is going to happen with the car. You know, the engine is not going to work properly, you don't want to have all that headache after you buy a car, right? So don't buy a lemon. It's just going to give you a lot of problems, okay? Private sale. That means you buy from a person, not a business, okay? Haggle. Haggle, that means bargain. Okay, for example, if you're selling a car and I ask you, how much are you selling it for? And you say $5,000. I could say, I'll give you $4,000. You say, $4,500. Okay, that's called haggling. We're bargaining for the price, okay? Lowball offer. A lowball offer means an offer that is much less than the seller is asking for, okay? So if you say you're selling your car for $5,000 and I offer you $2,000, that's a really lowball offer, right? Some people make lowball offers when they buy things through private sales. Okay, now a counter is the reply to your offer. Okay, so if I offer you, let's say $4,000 for the car, and you say, no, $4,500. Okay, that's the counter. You're countering my offer. So my offer, you counter, then maybe I counter, then you counter, then that's called countering. Okay, insurance, registration, auction. Okay, these are all words that I would use in my answer here. So an auction is a place where people bid and the highest bidder gets the car. Have you ever been to an auction? An auction doesn't just need to be for car, it could be for anything. Okay, it's a really interesting place. The auctioneer, the person who talks to the crowd is called the auctioneer. He talks really fast, like 1,000, who wants 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,003, 233, 3, 4, 4, who wants 4,000? Okay, it's talking really, really fast. It would be interesting for you to go to an auction sometime. It's sort of a fun experience. Okay, so here's my answer to this question about giving my brother advice about buying a car. Okay, hey Mike, I'm really excited for you that you got your driver's license and you're looking for your first car. I've bought and sold several cars in my life, so I think I can give you some good advice. Since you just graduated from high school, you probably don't have a huge budget for a vehicle. The good news is that there are always lots of great secondhand vehicles for sale. I just bought a 2008 Toyota Corolla on Kijiji for $2,800. Have you browsed Kijiji yet? That's a great online community for secondhand things. Another website is Craigslist. I would start by taking a look on those sites and figure out what kind of car you want to buy. Some people prefer buying vehicles from a dealership because there's less risk of buying a lemon, or there's less risk of the car being a lemon. Personally, I prefer a private sale because you can haggle more over the price. Anyway, after you've found one you like, you send a message to the seller and ask if you can look at the vehicle and go for a test drive. If you like the vehicle, then you make an offer on it. Personally, I always start with a lowball offer. For example, if the vehicle is $3,000, I would offer $2,100. They might counter with $2,700, and then you could meet somewhere around $2,500. Okay, after you buy the car, you have to get insurance and registration for it. It's a pretty easy process. Anyway, I hope you find a great vehicle. Just let me know if you need any more advice. There's a vehicle auction once a month that I usually go to. If you want to come along sometime, you'd be more than welcome. Okay, so that's basically how I would answer the question. Just talking about sort of the process of buying a car, where should he buy it, private sale, car dealership, you could talk about these things, or you could talk about other things, too. Like, there's more than one way to answer the question. That, I think, is very important for you to understand. You could answer it in a lot of different ways. Okay, so some people will have a very structured answer, and some people's answer will probably be more free-flowing. Which is better? Well, I think they're both great. You could get a perfect score using a structured answer or a more natural. Some people, they're very structured. First you should do this. The second thing you should do is this. Then you should do this, okay? That's a great answer. Okay, but if it's more free-flowing, hey, Mike, boy, that's a really great question about, advice. Let's see, do I have any advice? Ooh, yeah, one thing, don't buy a Ford. You should buy a Toyota. You could just have a more natural, free-flowing answer like that. Both of them are really great. Look, on the SelfUp exam, they're testing you for your English. They're not testing you on your IQ. Okay, it's not an IQ test, it's an English test. Okay, now, you have 90 seconds that you have to speak. Some people have a problem, coming up with enough things to say. And that's why I would recommend, telling some stories or using some examples if you sort of, are struggling. So I'll give you an example, okay? You could say, my friend is a mechanic. He told me never to buy a Ford. He told me never to buy a Ford because Ford stands for found on road dead. Ford, found on road dead. Okay, so this is sort of an English, a joke that people often use when they're talking about car brands, Toyota, Ford. Oh, don't buy a Ford. Ford stands for found on road dead. Okay, so if you said something like this, talked about, your mechanic friend and the advice your mechanic gave you not to buy a Ford, would that be good? Is that answering this question? Yeah, I think so. It's related to the question, right? It's relevant. The question is, give him some advice on how to buy a car. Yeah, you're giving advice, on how to buy a car. Maybe your advice is buy a Toyota, because in Canadian winters, you don't want your car to break down. So you could talk about what kind of car you're recommending. You could talk about, when to buy a car. Is it better to buy a car in the winter or the summer? You could answer this in so many different ways, okay? So, just relax and just talk. Now, if you talk the whole time about Toyota versus Ford, that would be bad. Okay, the question is not asking what kind of car. That's not really what the question is asking. It's not asking you to compare different makes of vehicles. So if you spend your whole time praising Toyota and bashing Ford, that's not good. You need to actually answer the question. Give him some advice on how to buy a car. Okay, so that might be one aspect, what the brand is, but that shouldn't be the whole answer. So does that make sense? You have a lot of flexibility with this question, but your answer needs to be relevant, and you can't just talk about something way far out there. But I hope you can see in this example and in the example about the giving advice for the summer job that, there's a very natural way to answer the question, and you don't have to overthink it. So try to practice that, not overthinking it. Hey, I want to know, do you think there's a difference in how you give advice in English versus your own language? What language do you speak? What's your mother tongue? Do you think there's a difference in how people give advice in your mother tongue versus English? I think there could be a difference. For example, people from Russia, they might be more direct. They might say, you should buy this car, you should buy a car there, you should do this, you should do that. They might be a little bit more direct. Whereas in Canada, our culture is a little bit more indirect. We use words like, you might want to consider buying a Toyota. You might want to consider buying a car from a dealership. That way you can be sure it's not going to be a lemon. Okay, so there's just sort of different cultural ways to give advice. So let me know what your answer is to this question down there in the comments, and I'll see you over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.